This part we're going to get into Metaballs. So let's move to another layer, and let me demonstrate what Metaballs are. If you hit Shift A, and right here under Metaball, add ball, and let me size this up so you can see it better. If we duplicate this by hitting Shift D, you can see how they interact with each other, and that's pretty much what Metaballs do. And that's why they're good for lava, doing the lava lamp. Let me show you some properties here with the Metaball. One of the things too, if you go over here to the properties panel and go to object data, you'll see resolution here for the viewport and for the final render. If we change this, resolution does just the opposite of what you would think. So the higher the resolution, the worse it is, the blockier it is, and the lower the resolution, the better it is. So if we go to, you know, a 0.5 or 0.5, that's really good. Okay, now what we're going to do for the viewport, we're going to set it up to 0.4, 0.450, whatever, and render at 0.1. And well, of course, we're not going to use these right here. I'm just demonstrating what these are. Now, another property too. Let's duplicate this one more time. You can size these on any axis you want. So I'm going to size it on the Z-axis. Show you can make it ellipsoid or whatever. You can also tab into edit mode. You can change it. See, they have different types. You know, cube, ellipsoid, or capsule. You know, different types of metaballs. We're going to just work with the solid ball. One other thing you can do is you can also go over here and hit negative. And negative will give it this effect right here. See how it affects the other metaballs. Okay, so that's good to know. Now, one other thing too. Let's tab back out of edit mode. Select this one here. And the important thing to know when you're working with metaballs, let's duplicate this one more time, is they have to be in an array to work with one another. And what I mean by that is you'll see over here in the outliner, it says imball, and then you'll see underneath it says imball 1, imball 2, imball 3. The array is where it says .001, .002. That shows they're in an array. Now, if you change the name of one of these, let's change the name of this number 3 here. You can just double click on this and change the name. Let's change it to just MB. Now, it will no longer affect the other two. But if you duplicate this one, it sets it in another array. So MB.001. And these two will interact with each other. So will any of them that you duplicate off of that. And these two continue to react with each other as well. But they won't react with that one. Okay? You can set materials to these, which is what we will do as well. Okay, now that's the basics. So let's just delete those, and let's go back to our main layer. Now let's get started here. One, to make sure we're in front view, zoom in here, and let's set our cursor, which is already right there in the middle. Go to 3, set our cursor right here. That way we know that our cursor is centered up. And Shift A, add metaball. Now size this down by hitting S. G to grab, let's move it down here. Let's size it down a little bit more. And one thing we want to pay attention is that we're not way off over here. So we want to turn our glass back on just occasionally to check, especially when we go to animate these, that we're not outside the glass. We want to be inside the glass, just like that. Okay, so we pan around to make sure that we're not. And okay, let's turn the glass back off. Now, Shift D, duplicate. We can size this one up a little bit. Shift D, duplicate. Size it down, and then size it maybe on the x-axis a little. Shift D, duplicate. Size it on the x. Shift D. Shift D. And size. Okay, turn the glass on. Sticking out. We want to be inside the glass. Oh, what am I doing? There we go. Oh, get that cursor out of the way. Move this one over a little. Turn the glass back on. Okay, we're good. Duplicate. Let's put one right here and maybe one right below it. Size it down. Size this one down. Size this one up on the Z. Okay, now let's duplicate one more. And this one we're going to tab into edit mode and then make it a negative. And then we're going to go to side view and we're going to move it out here somewhat. We'll size it up. And yeah, we want it to be in front of these other ones, so that way it doesn't totally make them disappear, but as they move past them, it'll make them change shape a little, something like that. And then just duplicate this, move one up here, maybe up here, maybe down here. Okay, now we've got all these set up. Now it's time to set our materials. So let's select the first one, Emball. And set our material for it. Now, the material, what we're going to do is already have a color decided on, so under diffuse, let's just make sure hex, select hex, and then just type this in right here. Type in 00E748, and that'll make it that green color. I mean, you can make it any color you want. This is just a color I like. Yeah. And now we're going to set our translucency under shading here. Set translucency all the way up, and what that does, that allows light to shine through from the back side to the outside, and it makes it's sort of transparent. It's kind of like being transparent, but it's not, because it maintains its color and everything. We are going to set a transparency for it though, because the translucency isn't enough. So set that to ray trace, and then set this down to a 0.6. And it's close enough. And you can see what it looks like so far. And then let's say set our index of refraction all the way up to 4. And you can see that effect it's having. And then we're going to also set the light group as the glass lamp. That's that lamp right in here in the center that's shining straight up. It will be illuminating all of these. And we want to set that to exclusive. So that way that lamp will light those up and you will get the color. If you don't set the exclusive, let me just show you what happens here. Let's go ahead and render this real quick. See how this looks. Okay, you can see how they look right there. They're not, well, first of all, they're not green. And that's the main thing you notice. One thing, these are very close to that lamp, so they're going to be affected more, and they're also casting shadows on the others. That's another thing we want to do is, I forgot to turn that on. Okay, you get the point. I'm going to stop that by hitting escape. Let's go to a different slot here. Let's go to slot number. Oh, sorry, that's a previous render I did on before I did this tutorial. So there's the one we just did. Let's go to slot 4, and I'm going to turn on receive transparent. That's something else we'll want. Let's see how that changes the look of it a bit. I should have box selected it up here so it wouldn't waste our time on this down here. If it hurries up and renders. I may have this next to the glass a little too much. Looks like it's sticking out of the glass. I think it is. Maybe. Maybe not. But we can already see a difference between the slots here. If I can get this to select. You can see this was all dark here. It was not showing up any green at all. And when we turn receive transparent on, now we're seeing some of the green in it. And then there's one more thing too. We want to set this to exclusive. So let's I'm gonna let this render just a little bit more. So you get this up here, and I think I want to box select that so we can only render the parts we want to render. Okay, you get the point. Oh, so here's the difference between the two so far. And let's go to slot 5 and start up a new slot. And then we're just going to hit Shift and B and just select this part right here. So I forgot to go to camera view first. Shift and B. There now. It'll only render that part right there. Okay, now we'll hit exclusive and render this part. And that's more like how we want it to look. A little better anyway. It's a little globby. We got to move some of these things around so the light hits it all. Another thing that might be affecting it too. I don't know if this is totally necessary, but we're going to do it anyway. And that is right now we've only set up the material. Let me drag this up here. We only set up the material for the first one. We didn't set up the material for all these others. And it appears, I don't think we need to do that, but just in case, I'm going to go ahead and link them all together. So what we'll do is let's go to side view, hit A to deselect them all, and then let's hit B to box select them. And then we're going to hold down Shift, and we're going to deselect this first one, Emball, that has the material, and then reselect it again, because it needs to be the active selected one. So it has to be the last one we select. And so that's why we deselected it and selected it again, so that way it is the last one we selected. And now all you have to do is hit Control L, and it says Make Links, and go down to Materials. And now, if we select on any one of these, they all have the same material. Okay? Now, go back to front view. And now we can animate these things. And what we'll do here is we'll start with we'll start with these ones that are going in a downward motion. I would say the ones on the left are going up and the ones on the right are going down. I guess it doesn't matter. We could do the opposite way, make these go up and that go down. Now we're going to start with frame 1. So set ourselves at frame 1 right here, and we're only going to render 200 frames. Now let's go to side view. Let's go ahead and select them all again by hitting B to box select them, and now we're going to hit I and set a keyframe for location scale. And what that does is that allows us to, if we want to scale it up on the Z-axis or change the scale at all, we'll have the keyframe set for that as well. We're also, naturally we're going to be moving the location of these, but you just want to think ahead for anything you might want to keyframe in the future if you're setting your first keyframe, and that would be the scale in this case. Okay, so now we've got them all keyframed at frame 1 where they are. Let's select this one here. Yeah, this one here. And let's go up to frame 220. We want to go beyond what we're going to render. That way the animation looks like it's continuous. It doesn't look like it's stopping right at the end of the animation. And now let's hit G to grab. Let's just pull it down here and set it, right there, let's say. Hit I, set another keyframe, and now if we play that, it's as simple as that. If you've never done animation or keyframing, the computer figures out all the tweening, which is the in-between keyframe or frames. You just set your keyframes, and all the in-between frames are set for you by the computer. And then it makes it easier to adjust things too. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to slide this window over here. So grab this little corner here and left click and slide. And then we're going to change this up to our graph editor. And let's make this a little wider so we can see it better. And zoom in here. Okay, pull this over so we can see all 220 frames. So from frame 1, so here's frame 1, and here is frame 220. And what we want to do is we're going to, since we're moving it on the Z-axis here, what we want to do is let's hide all these other ones. So we only see this blue one here, which is our Z-axis. And what we want to do is we want it to, if you watch it now from the beginning, it slowly starts off and then speeds up as it goes through, and then it slows down again. But we want to come into this animation, when the animation starts, look like everything's already in motion. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this handle here, hit G and X. The reason why you hit X is so we can lock it to a frame. Now it's locked to that axis there. And now we'll just move that handle in. And what that does is you can see that curve there, so it's changing the curve and making it start the animation faster. Because if we grab it way out here, then you can see here it is the animation isn't really starting until it gets right about here. Then it starts dropping, and then it'll go rapidly, and then it'll slow down. But we don't want that. We want it right about there. So now if we push play, it drops immediately. And it'll keep a constant speed until it comes to the bottom. Then it starts to slow down because of this curve here, which is fine because when you watch animation or the lava lamp, sometimes the lava balls start to slow down as they descend, as they reach near the bottom. Sometimes they hang up too in the middle, things like that. I mean, just play around with it, do whatever you think feels right. All right, that's the first one we wanted to keyframe. So let's select this next one here. Well, one thing we want to do too is let's select all these negative ones, and let's deselect them to where they won't. We won't be able to select them. So now we can't move them. And since we did it in edit mode, we duplicated them all in edit mode. They're actually all under Emball 9, and we can't move them individually. Can't keyframe them individually because I did it that way, but I don't intend on keyframing them anyway, so it doesn't matter. If I wanted to, I wouldn't have duplicated them in edit mode. I would have done it separately in object mode. All right, now we can only select the ones that are actually visible. We won't be selecting any negative ones by accident and animating the wrong ones. Okay, now let's go ahead, and we're up at frame 220. So let's go ahead and move this one down as well, and maybe set this one right here. Before I set a keyframe for that, let's make sure it's inside glass, and it is. So let's go ahead and set the keyframe location scale. You see this one up here is not inside glass. We need to move that one over on frame 1 and reset the keyframe for that one. There. Just make sure they're all the rest are inside the glass. Okay, so let's turn the glass back off. Let's see animation, see how this. See that this one is dropping slower than this one because of that curve. We select this one here, you can see that curve, that handle there. We didn't adjust the handle on that one. So let's go ahead and adjust that handle just a little bit. We're not going to adjust it exactly the same. We'll let it be a little slower on the takeoff because we don't want it to take off at the same time. In fact, let's adjust it out just a little more. There we go. Another thing too is with that first one selected, Emball, let's go to Object Data, set the resolution down to 0.1 for the render. I forgot to do that. And that should affect all of them. Yeah, it does. Okay, now, back to frame 220. Let's grab this one here. And this one is Emball.008. Instead of keyframing this, what we're going to do is something slightly different. We're going to make this over. Okay. This is number 8, and this one here is number 6. So we want number 8 to follow number 6. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to set up a constraint. So you go over here to your constraint panel and select Add Constraint. Go down to Limit Distance. And we want 8 to follow 6. We're on 8. That's the one we're putting the constraint on. So we got to go down here and select as our target. Our target should be Emball 6. So we scroll down, find 6. You can also type it in up here, Emball.006. And it automatically sets the distance for us. So now, whatever the distance are when you select that is what the distance will continue to be. So now, if I push play, see how it lets it get that far before it starts dropping? So now we can let it pull that without even having to animate that. And what you can do now is you can keyframe your distance instead, and that will affect that. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's actually turn the distance down to, maybe 0.477. There, and it's pulling it earlier. But let's watch when that one starts dropping. Let's set it at frame 20. Let's set a keyframe on this. And then at frame 40, maybe frame 50. Let's raise the distance up a little and set a keyframe. So it's 0.677 on frame 50, 0.477 on frame 20. Okay, so now let's watch how that does. Start stretching, and that's probably too much. So let's put this to 0.577 and hit I. All you have to do to set a keyframe here is hold your mouse over that and hit I. I forgot to explain that. Okay, so there. And now we can, once it gets up to about here, frame 80, we can, or let's say about frame 70, let's set another keyframe. That way the interpolation between, there will be no change between frame 50 and frame 70. This will remain the distance of 0.577. And then we'll just go up to frame 80, another 10 frames. And then we'll make the distance even less. We'll make it a 477 or maybe even a 377. Yeah, and then hit a keyframe for that. Now, watch how it reacts. It stretches, and then whoop, it globs together. And that might be a little too fast. So we may have to move this keyframe up a few. It moved just a little too fast for me, for my taste. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this up. So do just like we dragged one over, just grab that corner there and drag it up. And then we're going to change this to our dope sheet. And now, with, let's see here. This is inball.008. That's the one we have selected. So find inball008. There we go. And this should be let's grab that last keyframe, which is on frame 80. And now all we have to do with that one selected, highlighted yellow, just hit G to grab and move it over. And we can move it over another 10 frames or so. It looks like about frame 90, yeah. So now, instead of re-keyframing anything, we move the position of that keyframe. And now it'll glob together a little slower. And that might be too slow. Now we need to, let's move it back to, that was frame 80. This is frame 90. Let's move it to maybe an 85, 80, yep, 85. So let's hit G to grab that again and move it over here. And you can see it's frame 85 right here. And it's, I can't tell what color that is, whether that's, it looks kind of orangish. Might be yellow, I'm not sure. That's small. So you'll see if I take this off of there, it turns white, and that shows there's no keyframe. But when it changes color like that, that shows there's a keyframe on that frame, on frame 85. Okay, so now let's see how that looks. Okay, they glob together just like that. Okay, now you get the idea. I'm not going to go through and make all these perfect. I'm just trying to show you the idea. So you can just animate them all to your liking. So I'm just going to continue to keyframe the rest of these. go up here and grab one of these. Not sure which one I want to grab. Maybe that one. And we're at frame 220 again, so let's just hit G to grab. And let's set that one right about there. Hit I, location, scale. In fact, we might scale this one in just a little bit on the x-axis and scale it out on the z-axis just slightly. So, and keyframe that one. So now that will drop down just like this. And now what we want to do too on that one, we actually want this one to slow its start off descent. So we want to actually do the opposite of what we've been doing. Grab this handle here and drag this over a little bit more. And now okay, that's good. Let's go back to frame 220. Grab this one. Do something similar. Maybe put that right about there. I keyframe. Grab this one. And move this one up instead. I keyframe. And let's just see what those two look like. We're all up together. Okay, good enough. Let's do the same thing with this one. Move it up. Scale it on the X in. And set a keyframe. Okay. So what that looks like. Okay, you get the idea on all of this. How it, let's see. Okay. And this bottom one, we can do the same thing, or we can set a constraint on that one too. This is in-ball, and this is probably in-ball 1. Yeah, so we want to follow, let's put the limit distance on there, and go to in-ball 1 as our target, and then just so what we're going to do is maybe what we do here is just let's set a keyframe on this frame, and then lay it up to, oh, let's say up to here. Let's go to the last frame, 200, or go just slightly past it. And let's set the distance to right here, maybe. And keyframe that. And now let's watch how this does. Okay, let's increase. Go up to this frame again. Increase the distance a little more. Set keyframe. See how that looks. Yeah, I like that. Okay, now the last thing we got to do is make sure that we are not outside the glass. So let's play our animation. Yeah, we got some issues there. Okay, so let's see where it first appears. First starts to appear right about. Select it. Well, what we want to do is on our end result is just move this in like that and just hit keyframe again. Same way with this one up here. Move it in and move it back some. Keyframe there. And now should be good. Uh-oh. An issue there. Yeah, I got the right one. Alright, so let's move this one back some. Set the keyframe again. Okay, it's looking really good. Yep. Okay. Good enough. Take the glass back off. See what the animation looks like one more time. And this may not be to your liking, but you know, when you go to do your own, just animate it however you want, however you see fit. Have fun with it. Okay. Let's go to side view 3. And I'm going to save this, by the way. Control S, save. And now, what we want to do is we're going to create. Oh, let's turn the selection back on number 9, so where we can select those negative ones. And then what we're going to do here is hit A to deselect all, and then B to box select. Select them all, and hit Shift D to duplicate, and then just move them over here just for a second, just so you can see them. One thing I forgot to do. Okay, before I do anything else, this number 14, we had 13 Metaballs before. Number 14 is the beginning of the new duplicates. Okay, so it would be 14 through 20. Where is it? No, that can't be right. Can't be 14. What did we have? Let me undo that a minute. Oh, we had 9. That's how many we had. 9. So we should have. Let's duplicate them again. Shift D. And we got 19 now. Because we actually had 10. We actually had. If you include this one here, this would actually be 10 of them. We got 9 plus 1, 10. So if you add 10 more to 009, you get 19. So what we need to do is change the name of all these. So let's change these to. What we need to do. The reason why we're duplicating this is we're going to make shadows. All right. We need to cast shadows onto this backdrop here. And the way we're doing that is we're actually going to move all these out here in front of this lamp. and then we're going to set them to a certain, we're going to set the materials different. So that way they will cast shadows onto this backdrop, but they'll be invisible in the render. And okay, so now what we want to do, like I say, we'll change the name of this. So double click on number 10 there, and just let's call it something simple like MS. All right. Let's MS. Okay, now just to show you here, that will this will be part of a different array. And so if we go to number 11 and change the name of that by double clicking it and just change it to MS, then it changes it automatically to ms.001. So it automatically sets the array for us. So we can just keep on doing that with all these. Okay. So now we have a whole new array, and they go through from ms to ms.009. Now what we can do is we can change the material on these, and we'll set up this material so it only casts shadows. So the diffuse color and all this stuff doesn't really matter. What does matter is we want to change on the shading. We can turn translucency all the way down, turn that off. Transparency, we want to keep this transparency. We can turn the index of refraction back to a 1. So it has no index of refraction, I guess, or an index of 1, whatever. We're going to turn the alpha value down to a 0.15. I guess I could have just typed it in. Be a lot faster. All right. Now we're going to go down here and under light group, we want to take this off of exclusive, and we want to change this to area, because the area lamp here is going to affect these metaballs here. And then what we want to do is we want to go down to cast only. So now it'll only be casting shadows, and it will, like it says here, if you hold your mouse over that, it says make objects with this material appear invisible, not rendered, only casting shadows. So that's exactly what it does. Okay, and we can leave everything else the same, I think. Yeah, let's go ahead and leave everything else the same, because this will override the receive and receive transparent, so it really doesn't matter. Okay, now what we want to do is we're going to move all of these over here. And the way we do that, first off, let's go ahead and shift select all of these. Let's select MS1, and then just keep on shift selecting all these. And then go back up to MS, select that, and then hit Control L, because we're going to link the materials again. That way they're all the same material. I don't think it matters, but just in case, to be safe, so there's no glitches. Now, in our graph editor over here, we'll use that to move these forward and get them in front of this lamp. So we're going to move them on the y-axis. So what we want to do is we want to turn off everything but the y-axis on all of these. So since we have all these selected, let's turn off all the scales. Let's turn off these things. That way only Y is showing right here. And we'll just keep on doing that with all of these. This one's got Z showing. For some reason, I don't know why that says mball.007. Now we'll turn Y on it. Because that's the MS1. This must be the other name of it, MS1. Well, I don't want to select it now, or I'll mess this up. I'll show you what it is. Oh, yeah, it's showing the action here. It has the same action as Mball, I think. So, anyway, we're just clearing this up so we can see only the ones we want to manipulate. Okay, that should be all of them. Now, yeah, looking at all these, this is frame 1 here. Oh, one thing I also want to turn off, distance. There should be 2 of those. This one here. There's the other one, distance. And what that distance is, just in case you didn't notice, is when we set the keyframe for the limit distance. It also puts that in there. And we did that on 2 of them, so that's why there's 2 of these in there. Okay, now, I think we've got them all. And then hit A to select all. That's what the problem is. Hit select them all, because we need to select every frame. And now hit G. And now, if we move them up, let's see, they move. Let's see. And if we hit Y, it locks it into the Y-axis, so it only moves on the Y-axis. So let's move them out here somewhat. And there was a problem. Okay. I'm glad I figured that out. I hate when I make a mistake and have to search for it for a while while I'm recording a tutorial and then realize it was a stupid, easy mistake like that. Okay, now, you see they're just right in front of this lamp, so they will cast shadows. Now, they're probably a little too close to that lamp, so let's move them even further. First of all, let's get them back in sight. Hit G and Y, and now move them out to about here, maybe. About halfway between the wall and that. And now these will cast shadows on that. And what we can do, we can always just duplicate these one more time and then just move the ones we duplicated on the x-axis. So let's just do that. Shift D, and then just hit that. And now all the ones that we just duplicated should be selected. So So if we move them over, yeah, they'll be selected. And so we can't just move them over like that and push play because they'll move right back because they're keyframed right there. So we have to move them on the graph editor, but that's simple enough. First of all, before we change all these to X, let's go ahead and let's go to 3 to side view. And let's pull them back just a little bit. So it's over here in the graph editor, hit G and Y again. And we'll pull these ones back just slightly. Somewhere right about there. And now we got to go through and deselect the Y and select the X. Deselect the Y, select the X. And go through and do that on all of these. If you use your middle mouse wheel, you can make this, you can adjust this thing, make it smaller. Okay, now let's go to top view by hitting 7. And we'll move them now on the x-axis. So hit G. Oh, wait a minute. Let's hit A first of all. And deselect all and then select all. And now hit G. And we want to hit Y again to lock it. So this way, move it up and down on the graph editor, moves it on the x-axis. So we'll put one of them out here. And now we just want to shift and duplicate. And then left click. And then now on the graph editor again, hit G and Y and pull one over here. So kind of make like a triad. And the reason why we're doing this is so now the shadows, it'll cast off in this direction, it'll cast forward, and it'll cast shadows over in this direction. And now let's just do a quick, let's go to camera view, and let's hit Shift B because we box selected that before, and select the whole camera. That way it'll render the whole scene again, and hit F12 to render. And see what our scene looks like now with some shadows in it. Hopefully, if we did everything right, we should see the shadows in the background. Yes, I see them now. And there. And because we set the transparency value on it, that they are light shadows. And if we want the shadows lighter, we just make them more transparent. And for some reason, don't know what I did wrong, but the lava inside the glass is not showing up. It is always something, I'll tell you. If you're not recording a tutorial, everything goes fine. But whenever you you hit that record button, it just, nothing wants to work right. I don't get it. Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I know exactly what I did wrong. Okay, well, that's a simple fix. Okay, let's escape out of this. I know what I did wrong. I know exactly what I did. I'm suspecting exactly what I did. They are all linked with the same material. So all of these are casting shadows only, and even these in here are casting shadows only, I bet. Yep, that's the problem. Okay. So, simple enough fix. I forgot to do this, is to, and somebody that was watching this tutorial that knew better probably was screaming at me when I did it, but I can't hear you because this is pre-recorded. Okay. Oh, let's since this, we want all three of these to be the same material, so we're just going to change the M ball here. So what we want to do, this is what I forgot to do, is where this 40 is, it shows that there's 40 users using the same material. Well, we want to make this a brand new user, so click that, and now it says material 001. I never even named these, I just realized that. This material, let's name lava shadow. Oh, oh. Okay, and then this material for M-ball, we're going to change to, we'll just call it lava. All right, and what we want to do is we want to link all these together once again. So hit A to deselect all, and then we're just going to B to box select and select only the ones we want to link together, and then just hit Control L, and now they're all linked under the same material. So see here, it pops up with 10, so that shows there's 10 users for this material. And now if we change anything on this material, it changes all of them at the same time. So we want to change this by taking cast only off. And now if we just take that off, that should fix the problem. Because these, we don't want the ones inside the glass to only cast shadows. We want them also to be rendered. So now if we hit F12, that should fix our problem there. We should have the shadows, and we should show the lava. And there it is. Oh, one more problem. One more problem. The lighting. Under the same one, M-ball, it can be any of these actually because they're all sharing the same thing. Change this group back to glass lamp and hit exclusive. Now F12. And I'm going to save this too. We should be good now. I'm not seeing green. That is disconcerting. What did I do? Oh, I changed the transparency level too on this. Made it way down, and I changed it. Yeah, okay. A couple of things I gotta change. Forgot about. Okay, we gotta change this alpha value back to our original 0.6. That's what that should be. Let's turn our shading back, translucency back on. Yeah, now we're seeing it. Oh, and the index of refraction should be all the way up to 4. Okay, now I think I think that's all I changed before for the shadow, as I changed those values. So this should set it back. Let me hit Control S again and save this. Now render it again and see what it looks like. And if this is it, then I would say we're ready to go to compositing. And I will save that for the next part. Let's hope this works. Because I'm really getting tired of re-recording this tutorial every time I make a mistake. I'm seeing some green now. Okay, I think that's working. The green is showing through. Yeah, we're getting some green. We're getting the shadows in the back. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pause this, let it render, and come back to it, and you will see what it looks like when it's finished. Okay. Okay. This is the final render. Came out pretty decent. You can see some shadows over here on the right, shadows on the left, shadows behind it. We could probably readjust those. I'm going to let you do that, but you can move the shadows in a little bit more by just adjusting where those metaballs are that are casting the shadows, and get it more appropriate. And maybe not make them so dark or so distinguishable. They might be too much, but I don't know. But the thing is the shadows. We had to fake it because with the Blender internal engine, we can't do real world global illumination and indirect lighting, things like that. All we can do is fake them. With the new Cycles engine, you can do it, but I have a lot to learn on that one yet, and I don't think it's quite up to par yet. Give it some more time before it's ready to really be used in a tutorial. So anyway, the shadows will move. They are animated with this here. That's why we duplicated them, so they copy the keyframes. As you can see, they're moving here. So the shadows will cast the appropriate shadows as they should, the right shapes and everything. Okay, well, that should be it for this part here. Let's go ahead and move on into compositing, and we'll basically, I'm going to do a couple things that I didn't do in my first render, mainly just adding glow, but we're going to darken the image up a bit. This image is just a little too bright, so we'll add a vignette, and then also just darken it a little bit more on top of that. And that should be about it. And glow, of course. Okay, so I'll see you on the next part in compositing.